Apple has a new TV plan, and Peter Kafka, of All Things Digital, is joining us now on the phone to weigh in on this. Peter, thank you very much for joining us. Always appreciate it when you're. I presume you're in Brooklyn somewhere.
I'm in an undisclosed location, but it is sunny.
Okay. Before we go to you, we want to hear from Tim Cook, who was talking with your boss, Walt Mossberg, at the All Things Digital conference, and he's talking cryptically about this. Let's listen to him.
As you think about improving the television experience, because you just said you're thinking about that, can it be done with a box and leave the kind of big panel and everything to other people, and just really build a lot of smarts and software and other things into a box and not build the whole thing?
Here's the way, Walt, we would look at that is,
whether it's you or anyone.
We would look not just at this area but other areas and ask, can we control the key technology? Can we make a significant contribution far beyond what others have done in this area? Can we make a product that we all want? Because we think we're reasonably good proxies for others. And so those are all the things that we would ask about any new product category. It's the ones we ask about products within families that we've already announced. And so this is sort of how we think about it and how we look at it.
Peter, tell us about what you think of Apple's TV plan. It's tremendously difficult to unseat the TV business, isn't it?
Yeah, and Apple is not trying to do that, at least not in this round. What they're doing, in some form or another, is going to cable programmers and cable providers and saying, we want to work with you. And the newest iteration of that pitch seems to be to the cable providers saying, hey, we'd like to make a box or some sort of interface that people could use as an option instead of sort of your standard interface. And people will still get cable the same way they normally get cable. They'll still pay Time Warner or Comcast or whoever a monthly fee, but they'll be using us as sort of the way they access that stuff. What do you think about that idea? What we don't know is what the cable guys think about this.
Well, I mean, the cable guys like to get their subscription fees from some subscribers. Now, you talk in your column on All Things Digital about how Apple may be able to, a number of ways Apple may be able to unseat the existing structure of TV. Talk about that, because this is fascinating.
Yeah, if you didn't want to work with the existing structure, right? If you didn't want to work with the cable providers, for instance, what you would do is you would go to content makers and you'd say, hey, we would like to purchase your content and sell it directly. We'll do it over the web. And we'll either pay the same rates that you're getting from the cable guys now, or we'll make you some crazy deal and it'll be exclusive to us. So that's one way to do it. So, for instance, Apple could conceivably go and bid for, say, NFL rights. And if you wanted to watch a certain package of games, you'd have to get Apple TV to watch it.
And that would be very, I mean, they certainly have the cash available. That would be very expensive and a big bet. Would would the sports franchises be willing to do that and sort of break off their existing relationships with the three big networks?
For enough money, you could. I mean, and by the way, you've got two examples of this already happening. One is there's a certain package of games that you can only get if you get the NFL network, which is not available across the country. It's not available on Time Warner Cable. So the NFL itself has said, we'll cleave off part of the games. And Fox, which is owned by News Corp, which owns WSJ, et cetera, that's how Fox came into being, basically, way back in the 80s, is they bid a ton of money on NFL rights and sort of established themselves as a new channel. So money does talk there. So that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is what Google is sort of getting around to, is saying, we're just going to create all this awesome stuff on the web, and hopefully it'll be made very cheaply. And eventually that stuff will be so compelling that people will sort of find that as useful as cable TV, and will sort of de facto have a cable TV offering.
Interesting. But I mean, what Google's been doing is they've really just dipped a toe into that, haven't they?
Correct. They're spending a very little bit of money. And then the other thing, and you can see Google is separately on a different track, has gone ahead and turned themselves into a cable TV provider in Kansas City, and they're offering basically exactly, or they would like to offer exactly what you'd get when you get Time Warner Cable or Comcast or anybody else. So it's very hard to realistically, without spending a lot of money, to sort of unseat the existing cable TV infrastructure.
Now, you've been covering tech for a while, Peter. When things happen, they happen very quickly. So we could be seeing this sort of very slow-moving situation now, but it could happen like that, right, when it does happen. Am I right?
Yeah, and people point to the iPhone as something. The iPhone didn't exist 5 years ago, and now it's completely changed mobile. I have a hunch that it is harder to move consumer habits on TV, and I think that also it's harder to move the underlying industry. Don't forget that a lot of these programming deals between the providers and the programmers are 7-10 year deals. Even if you wanted to blow up the infrastructure, you might have to wait several years to unwind these deals.
Interesting. It's going to be a fascinating time. Thank you very much, Peter
Thank you.
Kafka of All Things Digital, and you can read Peter's column on All Things Digital. Great explanations there.